So, I played the first couple cards, and I'm already realizing I'm stumbling around without an idea of what I'm doing. I've noticed this with a number of the CDGs. Not all of them, but certainly with Twilight Struggle. The first time I played it, I had no idea. I feel like this is the same ilk. It's, what is my strategic plan? I don't know. So, and I kind of had that feeling with my Wilderness War game as well, where it just wasn't clear what's going on enough. And I think most of these games, to tell you the truth, there's not this, oh yeah, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta build this up. I definitely want to gain territory, there's no question there. But at what cost? And should I fight? And should I not? These things are all tough. So anyway, we get British reinforcements for the turn we're placed. We go over the first couple cards. The English chose or didn't have the option to go first. And the Americans decided to go first instead. And they played a card which forced a random discard from the English hand. Turned out it was an event, which is kind of cool, I guess. One thing this game has that's different from any other I've seen is this operations queue. If you don't have ops cards that are big enough to move one of your generals, you can put them under that queue and essentially take 2 card plays to move a general. They have to be consecutive. If you do anything else, if you well, first of all, you must play another ops card under there if you're going to play an ops card. But if you play an event or something, or discard one or whatever, you destroy that stack. It immediately goes away. But after you play another one there, you then have a combined number of points, which is enough perhaps to move a general. Okay, anyway, after the American event, the English played an event as well, and this is a pretty good one to play. It removes a couple of strength points, and also prevents the American player from using ops or discarding an event card in order to play PC markers for the rest of this phase. So that's going to prevent the US player or the rebel player from extending their political control marker, which may be kind of cool. I don't know. It sounded like a good idea at the time. Let's slow the rebellion down a little bit. All right. And for the second card of the game, both sides actually played reinforcements cards. The U.S. started off with putting Benedict Arnold into place to go try to take Quebec. Very historical there. And then the British played in order to bring Cornwallis into New York City. Again, probably pretty historical. Okay, let's try this again without lying. So this is kind of a key moment. The Americans reinforced Arnold, increasing the size of his force to the maximum that he can carry. And then the British expanded in South Carolina, making that no longer an American supporting colony, a neutral one now. And they're looking not just at increasing their colonial support down there, which doesn't look too important because nobody's got any troops down there at this point in the game, but if they can knock out some of the PC markers, they can get a stronger position. So now, on the Americans' next turn, Arnold marches, and he is the only person who can march on this wilderness line. He's got Carleton outnumbered, and we're going to see what happens in a battle. Okay, let's try to work through this first battle, and hopefully I won't have to stop. The Americans start off with these engineering works. You play them, and they're going to have a +2 die roll modifier to the battle, and they'll draw a strategy card to replenish that. The Brits don't want to destroy it, don't want to throw out the card they have. This is a decision I'm going to roll a die on. Odds will improve their battle. Yeah, okay. So the Brits are going to throw this card out for a +1 in the battle. It's a card they really wanted to play. I don't know if the effect is that it'll still reshuffle the deck. And I don't think they get a redraw because they're not using an actual battle card for that. Okay. Now each player determines their actual battle ability, and that's done using this table. And I will roll. Both are at full strength. Got pretty decent roll. Now we agree on the total die roll modifiers. Okay. So CU's on a side. Well, that's 5 big ones for Arnold. Wow, he really wants this. And 2 for the English. So keep track of my modifiers this way. This is how I like to do things. The actual battle rating of the generals. Okay, that looks like a 3 for the English. And a 3 for the Americans. Uh-oh. Okay. British regulars advantage? Yes. Royal Navy support? Yes. This is something I had to look up. They have support because I had to look up the fortified port effect, and they do have support. That's what it affects. Is a fortified port prevents the English from having support if they don't own the space. Militia. I believe the English have the militia advantage here in Canada. I'm not positive. I'm going to stop to look that up. So here we come to an interesting point. Here on the chart it says, and there's other questionable issues, discard of an enemy event card. However, the rules themselves state any event card can be done. So this was a British event card. I'm going to follow the rules here and not this player aid chart. I think the rules are more likely to be correct than whatever was distilled for a player aid chart. So that's 1 point for the Brits and 2 more for the Americans. We're up to 10 to 8. There was not an interception. So now what happens? Well, I don't know. I believe they just roll off. Yeah, it looks like there's just a straight battle roll, 1 die each. I bet you I say here. Each player rolls a die and adds their battle modifier. Okay, so it's +10 for the US, +8 for the Brits. 15 to 13, it's a US victory. The CU losses for both sides are determined. Okay. See, now this is why playing this card was really iffy, because I was pretty sure the British are going to lose no matter what. But it did reduce their chances of losing. I don't know. So, losses. I don't know if we re-roll. Yeah, you re-roll the battle. Okay. So let's see. Losing general's agility rating. The losing general has an agility of 2. Agility is that little yellow number, which means he causes a loss to the winner on a 1 through 3. He does not hurt Arnold. On the other hand, Arnold causes 1 loss to Carlton. And no, we won't be doing much in this kind of detail ever. It's just, I like, okay. So now we have a retreat. The English have to retreat. And they may do so by sea. And see, I'm going to lose all of Canada, but I don't see how my strength point's going to help terribly much. So I am going to retreat Carlton by sea, and I'm going to drop him. Crap. I'm going to drop him, I don't know where. I don't know where I want to retreat him, but he's going to go somewhere in the deep south, I believe. But that's the end of the battle. The U.S. won a fight. They get a replacement card for this. And I don't believe the English get a replacement card for that. I'll take that in a moment. The territory hasn't switched hands yet. That has to be done either by an action or by sitting there during the winter. Okay. One effect I forgot to mention of that battle is, since it was an American victory, it raised the French alliance track by a point. The other effect, yeah, I know, Kevin, I'm not supposed to say after the combat, we see the British played an ops card. Now they're down to 1 card left, to the Americans 3, because they've had 2 pulled from their hand in weird circumstances. The Brits played to expand here into Cheraw, and their plan is to get to North Carolina, Salem, and take Charlotte out, as well as what they lost here at Fort Prince George. Or what the Americans are going to... No, the Americans aren't cut off at Fort Prince George yet. They're cut off at Augusta. Okay. And that's just the go-like tactic here. And the Americans lose first, so that means this was never really at risk as long as we had this connected. Of course, cards can affect these things. The Americans have trouble getting new PC markers out because they can't play ops cards for them. And the British also played down in Ticonderoga, thereby gaining New York State under their control. The Americans played the Thomas Paine card, which gave them 3 political control markers. 2 of them were played. They could have completely surrounded this piece, but they only played 2 for it. Had they completely surrounded it, the follow-up British move would have thrown Oswego into question anyway. So the 3rd one was used to protect their holdings back here. This was in danger, so they moved out to Salem. The English played a 2 ops card. All their leaders are, well, no, Cornwallis is a 2. They could get him moving. But their other leaders are 3-point leaders. They don't want to really get them moving. And like I said, they moved to Niagara, and they also moved to Petersburg, gaining them Virginia. I don't know if they still have New York. I'll make a quick count on that, and I'll change it if need be. So here we finish up the 1775 turn. And the Americans played the Jane McCrae Indian Atrocity Sparks Outrage. That gives them 2 more PC markers kind of placed anywhere. They moved up here to help extend their southern line. They're worried it's going to get cut off and they need to get more liberties for it. Speaking in Go terms. They also played a major campaign, or a minor campaign, which allowed them to activate 2 generals and pulled out of Massachusetts entirely and Rhode Island. Greene marched up to Fort Stanwix to capture it, and Washington marched down to New York City. Now, because this was a late winter offensive, that's an additional +2 on his side. He had a +1 advantage in the battle. Ended up winning the battle, thereby increasing the French alliance marker, knocking Cornwallis back into Long Island with 1 strength point. He lost a strength point as well. Now we'll go to sort of the cleanup actions in the turn, which are the winter attrition and the political control phase. And that's going to be the end of the turn. Sorry about the speedy jerk there. We saw some action with the political control, obviously, where there are armies. The rules are a little hard to decipher on this, but I think what they mean is no matter what, where there are armies and leaders, well, I'm being very vague there because I don't know. But the cases where I had it here, there were armies and leaders together in the same place. So now, here's the problem I have is with the place PC markers segment. Each player places one in any uncontrolled space. I started to interpret that as, oh yeah, each of us gets 1 free PC marker to put on the board wherever we want. Well, in any space currently, in any uncontrolled space and flips to friendly control an enemy PC marker in any space currently occupied by one of his armies. I just think that phrasing is poor, but I think what's meant is if I've got an army in a space, which is a leader and troops, I get control of it. British players get them even if they're not adjacent to current PCs. That's different. Neither side gets them if it's just a general or just combat units. And then I removed the isolated PC markers, which there was a British one up in Gilbert Town. There was an American one down in Augusta. We're seeing some of the changes here. Canada's fallen. It's not owned by anyone. Americans pretty much control everything. New York, I think they've taken New York. I should have a marker there. God damn it. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it looks like they have New York. Put a marker there. And here is the cost of not having enough of these little things. Whoop whoop. I know some people threw big fits about it, and I agree, it's annoying. I really think that with the expense on these games, the quality of production, etc., there should be an offer to rectify this situation. I know that they were very good with Here I Stand in terms of getting the spare counters out. I hope that's a pattern that they're going to follow. I know it's expensive, but they ought to own up for producing as high a quality product as they really are. Back in the day, and there are still probably games that are like this, when you're buying, a flimsy box and, some cheap counters, etc., you're not really expecting the same level of quality control. There being things mismarked, etc. Yeah, we got in the habit of expecting that to happen, but I think, given the quality that GMT is kind of pushing forward as what they're putting, and they really are, in general, hard-mounted map, you hope that their counterprinting has that same level of quality. And we've seen some definite slips recently, and I'm hoping that they're, taking ownership of that and not letting it just slide onto the consumer in the end, as they seem to have done with this game. Okay, so we're ready to move on to the next turn. I know it's taken me a long time here. Now, because this is the second turn, I'd be shuffling the Declaration of Independence and the Van Steuben card into the deck. Strangely enough, they're already in there. I forgot to fish them out and decided, okay, if I pull them, I simply will reshuffle them in. I didn't look too hard, but I don't think there was a reshuffle event that didn't get played as that event. It got discarded. I don't think that affects the reshuffle. Got a few cards that have been discarded from the game. They won't be coming back. And we'll go on. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing still. You know, I've got the American. I feel like the Americans are doing quite well in terms of controlling much of the board. But they don't feel terribly strong. I mean, even though I went and took Quebec, oh well. I mean, they don't feel particularly weak either. It just, it doesn't have that kind of flow that, say, if I had this kind of control in 1776, I would definitely see, okay, I'm doing better. I'm going to get more militia. I'm going to get more regular troops. Actually, it's not that clear, because areas where there's nothing going on but are controlled don't actually produce much. But it would give me an understanding of what I'm getting out of it. Here, I'm not sure what I'm getting out of all these little control markers. My reinforcements, they're entirely dependent on the cards I draw. That's it. This I understand. I win battles, that's good. But I don't really know what the Americans should be doing, and I'm not really sure what the British should be doing to stop the Americans from doing what I can't tell they're supposed to be doing. Hopefully, it'll become clearer. I'm just not convinced that there's a close enough link between the reality of what was going on in the war and this game. And it may be a really great game, it may be really interesting, but in the end, for me, what's the point of simulating a situation if there isn't that clear link? And there is nothing in my head that says that this is intuitively clear what I'm trying to do here. And that's one of the problems with a lot of of heavily designed games. Not just the CDGs, you look over at the Euros. They've been designed to create a really, really interesting game mechanism, and I think that's the case here. But it's much harder to see, oh yeah, I understand why that works that way. Now, I haven't had this problem with all CDGs, and I'm not sure I have it with this one. I just want to throw it out there. And I've gone for a lot of time. So we're going to close up this first turn.